guys, it's Keith here on Boxing Day morning. Hope you guys had a good Christmas and had a chance to sort of just relax and, spend time with friends and family, whatever it is that you like to do on Christmas. Anyway, this is a quick little video. We haven't really been down to the allotments. It's kind of snowed down here and it was just, the weather was really bad and cold. And also, the run up to Christmas, everyone's really busy, so it's not like we had a huge amount of time to spend down there. But in between the last video and now, Matt and I have ordered all of our seeds and it was awesome. We spent an hour or so just going through everything that we wanted to grow, and we kind of narrowed it down, decided between a few different varieties and ordered everything. And so today's video is going to be about planning your allotment, or it could be your garden if you're growing stuff at home. And there's all different ways you can do it. Some people don't even bother planning. They just get their seeds and start growing stuff. They might have like an intuition. They know when to do plant certain things, or get things in the ground so they can work it out in their head. But some people might like to sort of plan ahead a bit more and know what's coming in the coming, or know what to plant in the coming months. Now in our case, we have got quite a few different varieties of seeds. We've got 28 different seeds altogether. Sometimes there's 3 of the same variety, so there's one of each, 3 different carrots or whatever. And because of that, I think it's a good idea that we have a rough idea of what is going in the ground. And we've got a fairly large plot, so if we had raised beds, we'd have about 20 raised beds, so there's a lot going on down there, and if we don't plan, I think it could get overwhelming. I think it's important to note as well, if you're starting out an allotment and you want to get into it and not get overwhelmed, it's a very good idea to, first of all, not go too crazy and order too much seeds or too many varieties. So stick to the easy things, but also get a plan. And that way, if there's more chance of you being successful in growing whatever you're growing, and it'll make you want to come back for more. If you sort of go crazy and just plant everything all at once, you might end up having too much of something, or it might not work, and it just gets really disheartening. Whereas if you're a bit more prepared, it makes it a lot easier to manage your plot really well. So what I'm going to do is show you some of the seeds that we've got. I'm not going to go through all of them in detail. We bought all of these seeds from a place called the Real Seed Catalog, and I've mentioned them before in some videos that I did earlier this year, and it's worth checking them out. All of their seeds are heirloom varieties. They don't use any F1 hybrid seeds. They so that they're all sort of organically grown, and I think they're called open hand pollinated, something like that. But anyway, it's really worth checking out. They do some awesome varieties, some really different things. So go take a look. And this isn't endorsed by them or anything. I just really think they're a great company. So as you can see on this first page on Excel, this first sheet, we have listed all the crops that we've bought, starting with 3 different kinds of carrots, some different beetroot, radish, everything. I'm not going to go through all of them, but we've got a really good variety. And what we've done to make it easier for ourselves is we've listed when we can start planting them approximately, so the plant date. DTM stands for dates to maturity. So now this will vary depending on where you are and what variety you have. So these are all approximate, and bear in mind they might change. So we don't know if these are going to be exactly what they are in our area. They're just rough guidelines. So we've got the rough days to maturity, so we know how long they take to grow before we can harvest. An estimated maturity date. This actual maturity date is for us, so we can actually fill this spreadsheet as we go along. So we can say we planted red radish on this day. We can say, well, it took this long to mature. This is when we think it will mature, and that's when we actually harvested it. And then we can actually use that data next year, so we have a better idea of how these different varieties fare in the climate that we're in. And then notes on planting. So more or less, this is basically when we can actually plant everything. So let's say giant red carrot can be planted from the end of February to the end of July, approximately. Again, that might change if you've had a longer, drier season, or whatever it may be. Now, you can go as complicated as you like or as simple as you like. And I think the more varieties you have and the more types of seeds you have, the more complex your plan would need to be. Because you really have to start thinking about when things are going in, juggling things around. If you've got a fewer varieties, it's easier to plan. Obviously, that makes sense. So I've done it in a varied stages depending on what people want to do. And again, we're not going to stick to this exactly. It's just for illustration purposes and just for a guideline for us. We still need to go through all of this and kind of work out all the finer details. But on this next sheet, I've put everything in blocks of beds. So this over here is bed 1, bed 2, bed 3, etc. to 10, and then all the way up to 20. And the way I've done it is I've put the date we're going to plant something, the date it comes out, and then after that I can put what is going to be next. So the first crop in bed 1, for example, will be tomatillo. It goes in on the 20th of February and comes out on the 20th of July. And then after that we've left a few days. We can also at the same time plant radish over here. And that could be in the row next to it because radish grows really quickly. So by the time tomatillo get too big, the radish would have grown and come out. So you can see there, if we plant that on the 5th of March, it comes out by the 14th of April. So it doesn't really matter too much there. So that's like an example of bed 1. So over here for bed 3, for example, if we plant a giant carrot in March, they come out at the end of May, and then at the beginning of June we can put Romanesco cauliflower, and they come out at the end of December. Because that's a late growing crop, that bed is not used again for that growing season, and so on. So you kind of go through each bed and you can say, well, we'll put yellow carrots, and after that we can put beans, etc, etc, etc. And I've done that for all the beds. Now this is a very rough guideline, and the reason it's also rough and basic is because it's not going into detail about how many rows we can actually put in each bed. So those beds are 750 mil, 75 centimeters wide. You can put a lot of rows of carrots in that. You can put about 3, and that's what I've based the thinking behind. So each bed can have approximately 3 rows. Some varieties like tomatoes, you're not going to have 3 rows of tomatoes. You might have 2 rows, but stagger the tomatoes, so you don't have as much tomato plants as you would, for example, beetroot. So the way I've done this one is exactly the same. I've just changed the layout. So we've got bed 1 over there, bed 2 over there, 3, 4, etc, etc. But I've broken them up into rows. Now, so instead of planning each bed, we're planning each row in each bed, and we're planning how many rotations we can get for those rows. And a rotation is basically a different kind of vegetable. So for example, bed 1, row 1, we have giant carrot. Those giant red carrots, which aren't really red, they're actually orange. Don't know why they call them that. But so let's say, for example, on the 10th of March we have planted those. They should be ready to harvest approximately around the 3rd of June. Then on the 15th of June we will put red top Swede, and they will be ready in December. And again, that's a late growing crop, so the rest of that bed will be out for the rest of the season. So we've got 2 rotations from that row in bed 1. Next one, so in row 2, in the beginning of April we put some beetroot. They are ready at the end of June. After that we can whack some radish in at the early July. They get ready sort of halfway through August, and then it's time to plant garlic. Those will only be ready in 2019, so that bed becomes not, that row in that bed won't be used again. And then row 3 we've got some radish and Romanesco cauliflower, and again that grows till the end of the year, and that's done. Now I've tried to put these in a way that's logical. So both the Romanesco and garlic take long to grow, so I've tried to put them together in a bed so that that bed is kind of the similar growing crops are put together. Another example, let's take a look here. For example, the courgette, that's a completely different crop altogether. So you plant it on, let's say, the 1st of May, and it says the maturity date is 25th of July. However, with courgettes, you harvest them over a good couple of months. So the chances are that courgette might only come out of the ground in August. Maybe even a bit longer. I don't know. I've never grown this kind of courgette before. And the same with patty pan squash. So those have taken up one bed altogether, and I've just left that blank because I don't actually know when those are going to come out. And the chances are we probably won't get much else in that bed unless we do a winter sort of green that we can put in quite late in the year. And I've basically gone through everything like that. Most of the beds we will get one or two rotations, except for the beds, like for example, again, ochre will go in April, and that is only ready at the end of the year, so that bed is tied up for the whole year. Cucamelon, again, that's a very long growing crop, so by the time it's ready, the whole bed's taken up. But as you can see, out of the 20 beds, I've only planned for 12 of them, and we've actually gone through everything that we wanted to grow. So we've got 8 beds left, which is reassuring because it means if we mess anything up or we want to try something new, we've got 8 beds to kind of play around with. This is just a basic idea of one way that you can go about planning your allotment or your garden. Now, you don't have to go into to do all of this, this is just for us, like I said, because we have quite a lot of varieties that we are growing, so it's good to have an idea of what we're doing. Once Matt and I have gone through this, we'll probably tweak it a bit and refine it slightly and see what we can do with those other beds. So for example, we've got 8 beds to play with, and with those 8 beds we can do succession planting, so things like carrots, beetroots, chard can be planted over a few months in summer. So we'll have loads of those vegetables for the whole growing season basically, and that's what we would probably do with those extra 8 beds. I hope you guys found this useful. Again, not everyone likes to do it like this. I just thought it'd be interesting to show you guys our thought process behind what we're going to do next year. It might not work, but we can use this as a base to understand how the following years are going to go. We'll find out what works, what doesn't. Maybe we planted stuff too early or we planted too late, but it's all valuable information to help us make the most out of production on the allotment. So that's it for this episode, everyone. I know it's not the most riveting of subjects, but I really enjoy spreadsheets. I could sit and play with them all day, basically. But I'd be interested to hear about how everyone else plans their allotment. Maybe some people just wing it, and they've been gardening for years, and they just know how their allotment works and their climate and what seeds and varieties work best for them. Either way, let me know down in the comments how you like planning your allotment. I'd be really interested to hear. Maybe there are some Excel spreadsheet freaks out there just like me that do something similar. Maybe it's slightly more complex, maybe it's a lot more simplified, but I'd love to know, so please let me know down below. It would be great if you could share this video with your friends and family, and if you would like to continue watching these videos, please hit the subscribe button now. Hope you guys have a great new year, and I will see you next year. See you later.